Hello, we're going to be talking about microrhythm today. Which is exactly the kind of thing you could do on your home computer that Daddy bought for you if it was a Commodore 64. This was written by Simon Pick, who did Nemesis for the C64. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? Now, here we go. You press this key here, and obviously this is not my hi-fi. This is my little television. Now, obviously I had a SX64. And it was brilliant, but Daddy paid for it, so you probably had a Commodore 64. Anyway, this is a great thing. For £2 you could make your own drum sounds. You could then use other things to make some nice music with your friends. £2, maybe £2.50. But it was tuck shop money. Tuck shop. Yeah, anyway, I fooled you there, mate. Of course it's me. So, I spent a bit of time with the instructions, so I could actually do something useful with this. So I do know enough now about how to do it. So if I go into song mode, and if you just press N. Right, I'm going to make a roll up. Tuck shop doesn't have roll up, so I think so. And you shouldn't have roll up. Well, Aslan likes it. He feels inclined to have some of his go-cat biscuits now. Oh, that reminds me, I wonder how Buddy is doing on Ben Heck's channel. He's growing quickly, the little bugger. Now, of course, this version was on the Atari as well. Not the ST, the other one. And I think that's the end of the song. But my favourite pattern didn't really play that often. So I would have to do that again. Now, you're probably thinking, what the fuck am I doing with microrhythm? Well, if I had like 1 million subscribers throwing money at me, you know, 10% of them, that is not all of them. I'm not that greedy.
I did actually want to make I would have wanted to make a film, and it would have centred around something else, but it would have been set in the sort of early to mid 80s home computer boom of London and the rest of England as well, but I only lived in London, I can't comment. You know, you'll have to ask Mainmeister what was going on in Scotland in those days. There was no internet, I couldn't look it up on AOL News, let alone the internet back then. And I wasn't allowed to have CompuNet, and my tea is over here. Now this is the important thing, right? I did actually take drum lessons. My mate who lived 4 doors up from me, Andrew Skepanides, he was actually quite a good drummer, and I think he was in some sort of band, and to make money he would actually I suppose can't really call it moonlighting because he was still a school student then, but he did used to like you know, get hired to do some drumming for things like weddings, obviously Greek weddings with a name like Skepanides. He was actually a really good friend, despite the fact that I think he was 2 years older than me. At least one, but I think he was 2 years older than me. Now, being a 70s kid, and because the first ever record I bought was from the fighting scene called Football Fight by Queen, for the Flash Gordon, I believe it's 1980, movie soundtrack. But I just bought the 7-inch record, which was kind of like a bluish purple with white stars, you know, like Battlestar Galactica background. 1978. I will always tell you if it's a new one. And if you want to know what Battlestar Galactica 2004 onwards is like, you should actually watch Battlestar Galactica Razor. Massive amount of spoilers, but if it wasn't your cup of tea for whatever reason, you'd find out very quickly. But yeah, see, the thing is, the whole, you know, I want to be a drummer thing in the 70s was really part of the punk generation. Now the electronica, experimental synth groups and all that, they all kind of came after the punk movement, which was like, no, you don't need to go to like university and study a fucking bachelor's degree in music to write a song. No, sir. And you don't need to spend like years worth of salary on like massive expensive fucking budgets for your instruments. No. You could actually just get a used drum kit from your local paper, and you know, off you go. You can teach yourself how to play drums. And if you go into real-time mode, you can actually do the drums yourself. So, that's the kind of thing you can do. Now, obviously, that's really just for testing. There's a few more up here, I think. I thought Return did one as well. You can exit. S is always exit or start to play. One of those two things. So, so that was a point. You know Betty Boo. She wrote her first album using an Amiga, and I don't even know if she had a sampler, and she basically did her demo music tracks using her Amiga, recorded them probably onto a mono tape to get a 4-track, and just dubbed over her vocals, which she recorded on a microphone. Possibly not while it was playing, you know. I don't know how she did it. I can't even find that interview. There was an interview with her. She did talk about it, and it's gone forever. But that was the whole thing. So, like I said, tuck shop money. Well, maybe a week's worth of tuck shop money. You could buy yourself Microrhythm, and there was Microrhythm Plus, and that had 4 different sets. It's a lot like Spectrum, but it's a lot cheaper because the C64, because it had a slightly grunginess to how it works as far as the SID chip goes. Actually, the VIC 2 as well. It's a bit raw. It's very powerful, but very raw. It wouldn't be like an M3. I'm trying to think what it would be like, actually. Yeah, it'd probably be like a 325i, actually. They're almost as fast as the 2.3 litre M3 4-cylinder. Possibly the earlier model E21, I think they're called, instead of E30, 323i. Ooh, start hoofing that around in the wet and you'll fuck. But if you knew what you were doing, aka musically talented, God damn it, these breakfast coughs are getting worse, and the teas are getting less and less copious in the flask when I wake up. So yeah, you know, you don't have to buy the Spectrum hardware, which in itself is ingenious. Now, if Commodore had a fucking clue what they were doing, they would have done what a lot of people, well, maybe 3 or 4 I should say, not a lot in the world. They actually make the click noise when you turn the SID volume off and then to maximum. There's like a punch, a click. It shouldn't be there. Bob Yanes did not want it there. And Commodore just assumed that was a good idea. But by the time the 8580 came out, loads of programmers had worked out, hey, you can play samples as good as the Famicom or NES using this weird bug, you know. The cheapness of the machine actually gave you a benefit, and when can you ever say that? I don't think the cheapness of the cheapest steak pies in Tesco or whatever is an advantage. It's never an advantage with food. If you want to save money on food, cut the meat out. Anyway, let's not talk about such topical things. Commodore should have actually amplified that click, because the samples are actually fairly low. I don't know if it's going to come out on the camera. See where the volume is? That is low. If I played Terra Cresta now like that, all the speaker would be rattling like a mother and father. Yeah, anyway. I don't know what film that's from. He says that instead of motherfucker. Obviously I'm going to swear, it's my channel. But yeah, this was like a brilliant thing, you know. And I never had Microrhythm, but I can imagine in some sort of, you know, I'm trying to think of a British, you know, film studio from the 80s. Rank Film Distribution. I don't think they actually made the films though. Can't think of any. That's really weird. There must be loads from the 60s. But if you did sort of like a film, it would have been like, you know, you got school today, there's a C64 on the desk, you know, you have a triangular half slice of bread toasted with some butter on it in your mouth, and a cup of tea, because it's England, with milk, 2 sugars, thank you. And I'm not like Bricktop. I'm not sweet enough, mate. That's such a stupid line in Snatch. I hate that. In fact, I don't like that character. And even on a certain notorious website, I did not like the Bricktop uploads, even though he might have been a really decent guy. Because when I read Bricktop, I think of that stupid prick in Snatch. But yeah, basically it would have been like, you got 15 minutes, so you would have loaded up Microrhythm, and then, you know, by the time your mum made your breakfast for you, obviously, because my mum worked at home. Maybe not for you, maybe you had to make your own breakfast, but you come back upstairs and you're messing about, like with Microrhythm. Now obviously, I'm going to do it properly now. So he'd be making things like this, and then he'd go off to school, and it'd be the same shot as in the movie Breaking Glass, possibly in reverse. I did actually work all this out, and I was like, okay, if Breaking Glass has been released on Blu-ray, the quality would be good enough to license that clip there, and a bit of digital editing magic, and you could actually zoom out from an exact copy of my bedroom back then. That's really the difference. That sample playback feature, it should have been embraced, not removed, which means the Commodore 65 would have had 6 sound channels, but would have had a hell of a lot of trouble playing samples, unlike, you know, a silver label Commodore 64, which is a backward step. And Commodore, they really didn't know what they were doing anyway. There's so many examples. The Amiga 1000 probably would have cost them only $20 more than the Amiga 500 to manufacture in summer 1987. But they spent loads of money creating the Amiga 500. It's just such a stupid situation. And the Amiga 2000, that replaced what J Minor was working on. And the Amiga 2000 is no better at playing, you know, things like Starglider 2 than a 1985 Amiga 1000. And it cost a hell of a lot more. Not much point putting a 24-bit graphics card inside an Amiga 2000. Yeah, it's a bit amazing you could do that in 1991 whenever they started coming out. Can't remember when A Video came out, which is one you can put in A500 and A1000. But yeah, that's really the difference. You know, the Commodore 64 could have been better than it was. In fact, I'd say the first half of 1988 is really where it, you know, you're onto a loser with a C64. Risk is a fantastic game, and I think Nebulous came out around that era as well, and another game. And those are console quality games that cost, well, a third of the price of a VCS. And that was the thing. If I had a VCS, right, let's say I had a VCS in 1983, you know, I bought it brand new, you know, that was the only option I had. And let's face it, Microrhythm, you couldn't do it on a VCS, but let's say you could, and would you actually buy a £30 cartridge that lets you piss about like this? I feel like Fred Harris when I'm doing that, when he was doing the Spectrum interview. That's the sound I want. Anyway, now I'm not that musically talented, as you can tell, but also the camera is right in front of the keyboard, and I'm trying not to short out the SD to IC with my polyester jumper. Actually, I don't know what it's made of. Keeps you warm. Cats have only pulled out 2 strings from it, so it should last at least another 3 months. Yeah, I have to carry my cats around everywhere so they don't kill each other, mate. But yeah, that's really the difference. If you had a ColecoVision, yeah, you played, you know, some great games on there. I had golf on the ColecoVision and I thought it was great. And some of those square waves on Space Fury on the ColecoVision were the best square wave instruments songs I'd ever heard, actually. They're brilliant. But you just wouldn't have things like this. So, you know, yeah, Basic Lightning or White Lightning was actually like 15 quid on tape. It was fairly expensive, but £2.50 just to see if, you know, you're even interested in playing the drums. That is a thing, and like I said, that's really from the punk era. And I was like listening to the Breaking Glass soundtrack, and I thought to myself, you know what? It's about time I did microrhythm. And obviously, I did a very shit job of it, but well, that really covers it for me. Why is that goddamn thing so out of fucking focus now? It's because I've been putting my hand in front of that bloody camera. There you go. The little KV-M14TU. It's a teletext model, mate. Only the best on my channel. I wonder if it will zoom in anymore. Oh right, you zoom in there, won't you? But you can actually build up an entire track, and then, you know, you just get a tape recorder and tape it, and you could actually make music. If this was actually earlier, it would have been better. I don't know when it came out in 1986. I think it was in the summer. Seem to remember it being not very pleasant weather-wise, being stuck indoors, because obviously I wasn't allowed to use my C64 outdoors. And if I finish my garden next year, we'll have the SX64 in the garden, which looks like a bit of a forest, because I like loads of trees. That's why I bought the house. And we could play Forbidden Forest outside in the garden with the birds tweeting. Tweet, tweet.